I know somebody who has raging thunderbolts coming out of his short pants because he's happy that the Schleg Daddy is finally talking about his beloved San Diego Chargers. Isn't that right, Chase Oliver? Exactly. Unfortunately, your Chargers were not so good in 2012. 7-9, second in the AFC West. They went 7-9 in the Boo Boo division. Yeah. They ended up getting the 11th overall pick in this upcoming April's NFL draft. And when we look at why the Chargers kind of fell apart a little bit this year and finished 7-9, I believe I talked about in my preview videos for the NFL back in the fall, I thought the Chargers could potentially win 7 games because the wheels are finally going to come off. Now, of course, my dumbass also for some reason believed in the Raiders, and I don't know why. So with every good, sometimes there's a bad, I'll grant you. But when you look at this team, the wheels kind of did fall off. Phillip Rivers did throw 5 fewer interceptions than he did the previous season. Unfortunately, he also threw for 1,000 fewer passing yards. This was not quite the same Chargers high-powered, potent offense that Charger fans have come used to seeing over the past several seasons. There was no 1,000-yard rusher, no 1,000-yard receiver. Bottom line is losing Vincent Jackson hurt this team a lot. You also look at Antonio Gates. He had a nice kind of semi-bounce back year, but he's clearly not the same player he used to be, and he's on the downside of his career. You had a nice surprise come along off the scrap heap in Denario Alexander. I'm assuming he's going to get paid at least somewhat handsomely in this offseason. The bottom line is the Chargers' offensive line was terrible. A terrible job in run blocking, but an even more pathetic job in pass protection. If you want one stat that symbolizes how bad they were in terms of their run blocking, the Chargers had, guess how many rushing touchdowns the last 12 games of the season? You knew that, didn't you, Chase Oliver? Not good. That's not a formula for success anywhere, even the damn high school level. When you look at the Chargers on defense, there are some good things, there's some bad things. I think Corey Liggett and Kendall Reyes make a nice 1-2 punch at defensive end in that 3-4 system, although I don't think that defense is quite the same since they no longer have that true stud nose tackle in that 3-4, which is so pivotal when you try to run that scheme. They don't have Jamal Williams anymore, and it shows a little bit. They were still pretty good against the run, I'll give them that. I think at times they struggled to generate a consistent pass rush. To their secondary, which it has been for who knows how many years, seems to still remain an issue. Quentin Jammer's on the downside of his career. Antoine Cason is, quite frankly, a freaking head case. He really is. And it's funny, you know, Weddle, their safety, goes from being all-pro one year to not even being a Pro Bowler the next year. And for a long time, I've really thought about the Chargers when it comes to their secondary, that sometimes it's not just about talent. It's about technique. It's about fundamentals. It's about confidence, mental discipline, heart. And I think at times those are some things that I look at that Chargers defense, in particular in their secondary, and I see a clear lack of. But Charger fans, you finally got what you wanted. Let's face it, you really didn't want the Chargers to be all that good this year. It really doesn't break your heart that much that they didn't make the playoffs, does it? No. We know the truth. Sometimes you have to lose to win. And in this case, after this 7-9 season, missing the playoffs, the Chargers organization finally did what they needed to do. Norv Turner, gone. And villain number 1 to success, General Manager A.J. Smith, get the fuck out of here. For all the blame that Norv Turner's got, and a lot of it legitimately so over the years, the single biggest impeder of the Chargers taking that next step and becoming a Super Bowl contender has been A.J. Smith, whether that be poor draft choices, whether that be his lack of desire to ever pay anybody anything, his lack of ability to better provide weapons on the offensive side of the ball for Phillip Rivers. I can go on and on and on. A.J. Smith is gone, Charger fans, and you should be incredibly, incredibly happy about that. And one of A.J. Smith's, of many, one of his failures over the past several years in some ways, has been, guess what? the NFL Draft. Oh, we're going to let Vincent Jackson go. We're bringing Robert Meacham because that'll work out just the same. A.J. Smith, you suck. God. Almost as bad as Jerry Angelo was in Chicago. Almost. When you look at the draft history of the Chargers over the past several years, I look at their 2008 first-round pick, Antoine Cason, somebody I actually liked out of Arizona. He's a talented guy. And at times he plays very well, and other times he plays like he doesn't give a shit. He's good, but not great. But sometimes I think he's more headache maybe to that organization, to that locker room, than he's really worth. Larry English from NIU, bust. He just sucks. Excuse me, that's just the way it is. Ryan Matthews, they traded up a lot from pick 28 to pick 12 in 2010 to go get the running back out of Fresno State, and they kind of paid the price. They gave up a bunch of picks, and Matthews is like that tantalizing Dick tease. He'll give you those moments where he looks like a great, skilled, dual-threat running back that should be a top 5 guy in the league at his position. But then you'll have other moments where he has a fumble here or makes a bad play there, loses focus, or even more critically when we talk about Ryan Matthews, the guy just can't fucking stay healthy. It's that simple. Now, to be fair to A.J. Smith, he's found some guys like Liggett from Illinois, Donald Butler, Kendall Reyes. He's found some good gems or some good players, some good contributors on the defensive side of the ball. But when you look at this team overall, they haven't went on a decline the past couple of years for nothing. And I think the single biggest reason for that decline is the failure to surround Philip Rivers, it's easy for me to say, with weapons for him to throw to, and just as importantly, if not more so, effective protection on his offensive line to give him more time to throw to better weapons or to open up better holes in the running game for said weapons that happen to be in the backfield. For a team that has a franchise quarterback, and should be a franchise quarterback anyways, in Philip Rivers, over the past several years, they sure as hell invested a lot on the defensive side of the football, got very little return for that, and all the while their offense and the support system around Philip Rivers degraded and dwindled away. It's no wonder Philip Rivers hasn't exactly been good for the past 2 seasons, and he's not nearly matching what he did in 2010. Look at the support system around him. Hey, your tight end's getting older. We're not going to effectively replace him. Your offensive line sucks. We're not going to do anything to effectively replace them. Your wide receivers, Vincent Jackson, your top guy, who himself at San Diego couldn't stay healthy half the damn time. We're not going to pay him. We'll let him go somewhere else, and we won't effectively replace him either. We'll bring in Robert Meacham. Again, if you're a Chargers fan, you should know this by now. The draft has contributed a lot to the problems of the Chargers organization over the past couple of years, and that's why some big changes needed to happen, both in the front office and with your head coach, and they did. So gone is A.J. Smith as general manager. In is a new guy, a young guy named Tom Telesco. He'll be the next general manager of the San Diego Chargers, and it'll be up to him to rectify the many mistakes that A.J. Smith perpetrated on the Chargers over the past several seasons. They obviously went in a new direction in terms of the head coach. They went to Denver, a divisional rival, and they plucked away their offensive coordinator, Matt McCoy. Now, as far as whether or not he will be the right man for the job, you could say, well, they just had an offensive guy for many years in North Turner. Why didn't they bring in a defensive guy? Well, ultimately, Philip Rivers is still the man that team's supposed to be built around. And you need to do everything you can to make him as successful as possible. That's why you go with Matt McCoy. Over the past 2 years, he's gotten credit because he was able to tailor-make an offense on the fly around Tim Tebow in 2011, helped the Broncos win the division in a playoff game. And then this past season, he was able to remake the offense again around Peyton Manning. You get some credit for that, and that's okay. But remember, when Peyton Manning is on a team, he's the ultimate offensive coordinator. Just think about that. But they're coming in. You've got a few free agents that they're both the head coach McCoy and the new general manager Telesco are going to have to make decisions on. I would anticipate Luis Vasquez is going to get paid. Probably was their best offensive lineman, I would think, this past season. Denario Alexander will probably get paid nicely. And unlike A.J. Smith, who would have just found Alexander on the scrap heap and then when he wanted some money in return would have sent him off, I think they will actually pay him too. But you've got some other guys like Sean Phillips. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not they're going to retain him. He's clearly their best pass rusher in that 3-4, or on that defense anyways, excuse me. But that doesn't mean that he needs to be re-signed. You've got their top two cornerbacks, both Jammer and Kaysen, are both free agents, and one or both of them could potentially be gone. I would anticipate they would probably let Jammer walk and re-sign Kaysen, perhaps, but we will see. So they have questions to address there. As far as draft philosophy, it's this simple. Fuck the defense this year, especially in the early rounds at least. This draft needs to be about building around Phillip Rivers, helping reinforce the weapons, because there's a significant deficiency in weapons in San Diego. And most importantly of all, they need to rebuild that front line in a big hurry. So I would be an incredibly strong advocate of the Chargers both in the first round and the second round taking offensive linemen, whether that's 2 offensive tackles or a tackle and a guard. It doesn't damn matter. You have at least 3, if not 4 offensive linemen that could easily be replaced on that team. It's time to start replacing them with younger options that are also more talented the second they walk through your fucking facility for those first day of OTAs. You got it? Possible guys they could take at pick 11. You're going to hear a lot of talk about Eric Fisher, the offensive tackle from Central Michigan. If he was there, the Chargers will probably take him, no question. But I do not necessarily anticipate that he is going to be there. I think he's very quick on his feet. He's got that kind of small school buzz about him. Those are the type of guys that really get a rocket ship up their ass come the last 6 weeks of the draft. Wouldn't be surprising at all to see an Eric Fisher go in the top 10, if not past Luke Joeckel and be the first offensive tackle drafted in this 2013 NFL draft. You could take Chance Warmack if he's there at pick 11. I would have to guess right now the number 3 offensive tackle on the board would be Lane Johnson from Oklahoma. That would probably be the guy that they would be most likely to take in the spot, but you could come right back around in the second round. You could take Barrett Jones. He's a guy that could potentially play 4 or all 5 of the line positions. You just draft him and then you figure out a spot. DJ Fluker, his teammate at Alabama. You could draft a wide receiver or 2 if you need to in the middle rounds. Guys like Justin Hunter and Robert Woods and Quentin Patton. Another offensive tackle, maybe a guy like Dallas Thomas. The bottom line is the Chargers have to go into this offseason looking to help out Phillip Rivers. And they, in particular, need to go into this 2013 draft with the mindset of, we're going to do everything we can to keep Phillip Rivers upright, protect him, and open better holes in the running game. If the Chargers can do that, quick turnaround can happen. They could be sitting there banging out 9-10 wins next year and battling out for a wild card. Or if the Broncos regress at all, which I don't necessarily anticipate, maybe compete in that division. If they don't, if they sit there and are morons and they draft a defensive player in the first round, or like 2 out of their first 3 picks are defensive players, then the Chargers will be 7-9 again next year. Charger fans will be cussing at general manager Tom Telesco, and they'll be wondering why in the blue fuck they hired Matt McCoy to be the head coach. And it's that simple.